So hi guys, welcome to stage 25. This is the body, midsection and water supply panels. There was a lot of pieces and there were some really fiddly pieces, but having said that, on the whole I would say I really enjoyed this. So let's see how I got on. So stage 25, the body, midsection and water supply panels. Let's see how we get on with this. This looks like there's quite a few parts, so let's go through them. So we start off with this nice big lump, the body midsection. So let's have a bit of a speculate, shall we? What's that going to go there, do you think? Yeah, that seems a nice fit there, so I think that's probably where it's going to go. Now it's probably going to go there actually. No, I don't know. Oh, it might go that way. I'm looking at screw holes and holes. I think it's probably going to go there. Anyway, we'll find out later on in the build, won't we? So one body midsection. We have got, wow, lots of parts. So let's try and decipher these parts. I do miss the old label bags and things. So we've got, I tell you what, some tiny parts there. I'm a little bit reluctant to open those. I think I need to invest in some small part trays. I'm thinking diamond painting trays. They would be absolutely perfect for this job. Some screws there. Right, lots of panels that at this point all look very similar, and some red parts. So water supply panel, that looks like one of these. This is a water supply panel left. I think this is the left one. I'm looking at this little keyhole there. Let's move this across because I didn't realize I was so far across. So water supply, and this looks like a water supply panel right, which is there. Now I'm laying these out so that they end up roughly in the same order that the magazine has done them. So we've got a right side panel, a right side panel and a left base step. I don't think that's the left base step actually. I think that might be them. This looks like a right base step, and this is a, yeah, they placed it this way, but it's the details on this side. So I think panel step is this one. Step support is this one, which will make this the left rear panel. Small supply cap ×2. These are tiny, absolutely tiny. Right, oh no, emergency lens ×2. We've seen these before, and these are the bane of my life because they keep falling out. But they're very good at hiding screw holes, aren't they? Now this looks like the emergency light frames, very, very small. Large supply cap, interesting. And then 2 supply valves. These are as you would expect them, little, oh come on, focus. There we are. So they're nice. Right, so that leaves us with the red parts, and we've got a road cone ×2. Oh, these are on a sprue, so we'll leave that on the sprue. And then we've got a supply connection and a supply elbow. I think this is the supply elbow and this is the supply connection, and then that leaves us with 3 B-type screws. So, and we've already got one there, 2 in there. So this is the biggest confusion I have is do they give us spare screws or not? I don't know. Right, so we need to install the left electrical compartment to the body midsection. So we need to take this from stage 24, and hopefully it's been glued and it's on long enough. So this is what we made in the previous issue, previous stage. And what we're going to do, let's see if I can get this orientation correct. So with the body midsection, we need to place that into there. And there's 2 holes in there and 2 lugs there, and that is as I suspected. All of that I ground away is all going to get hidden up. Now that is a really tight fit, and that's gone in really well, and it doesn't say anything about gluing. Align the 2 lugs, align the 2 lugs on the back of the compartment with the 2 holes in the body midsection as shown, and it doesn't say anything about gluing, and it doesn't need gluing either, I don't think. Push the electrical compartment into that body midsection until the lugs sit firmly within the fixing holes, which they do, and that's actually, I'm now really happy with that. I've gone from thinking about considering throwing this model through the window, bearing in mind I live on a 2nd floor flat, to loving it again. So that I'm happy with. Right, so the next step, oh my god. Right, so we need to take the left water supply panel, which is this one, and we need to take these 2 caps, and this apparently is a shaped hole. Oh well. Right, so on the thick side, I'm really struggling to show you this because it's so small. But there's a small hole in there, and that's a D-shaped hole, and we have to somehow get those on there. And I suspect the easiest way is to twist it until it falls into place. Wow. Wow. Yeah, these are super fiddly. I can't even see the holes. They're that small. And I can't seem to find a positive fit. And I don't think they aren't going. They're not going. Right. I think this has also got the added bonus of having a bit of paint block in it. Yeah, okay. There we go. That's kind of gone in. So that's what you're going to end up with, something like that. So, right. So that's not the best of fits, so I am going to apply a little bit of glue, and I put my glue down. There we are. So I did dry fit that, and I did try fit it on both sides. So we are. There we are. We can just, I would actually go with the idea of holding it, pushing it on, and then twisting it until you can find the best fit. That is definitely the best way to do it. Because there is only one way this is going to go on, but this is so super small and fiddly. There we go. No, I thought I found it then. Right, okay, I can see that this has actually got a better hole on it. Right. There we go. That fits fine. So, little touch of glue, and now that I've got one on, I now know that if I hold it with this bit on the left, I know that the flat bit is on the top. So if I can get this roughly like that, so that the rough bit is on the top, the flat bit, sorry, is on the top, and then there we go, that's made that so much easier to put on. So that is step 3. Well, that's actually step 3, 4, 5 and 6. So there we go. Right, so the next step is to put these little lenses on, and I'm just not even going to mess about. I know what they're going to be like. And I'm just going to go straight in, check they fit. Having said that, these holes look a little bit longer. Do you know what? I think they're all right. Those luck do actually go all the way through. So there's one emergency. What are they calling them? Emergency light lens. Obviously these don't light up. I suppose you could, what do they call them? S-mods, the little tiny LEDs. I suppose you could rig some up, drill a little hole through, and then put the S-mod through. Right, so that's those parts done. So next we want to take the left water supply, which is I think it's this one, and the reason I think it's this one is there's a little keyhole fitting and the bottom is there, and it's also, yes, it is definitely this one. It's pointing at this square there, whereas this side doesn't have a square. And what it's saying is that we want to push that in to there. We've got a couple of lugs on the back, and that's just going to go in there, and that's just evened up that nicely. So that's now all level. I still say that that should have gone in a little bit further down. That's actually lined up further down than it would have been had the lugs been on. But I think that's fine. That's quite nice actually. Right, so it doesn't say anything about gluing them, but it looks like it's fine. I don't think that's going to come out easily. So next we want to take the emergency light that we assembled in step 8, and with the 2 pegs on the back, that's going in there, and I really do not think that's going to stay in. Yeah, that's not going to stay in. So I'm going to put a tiny bit of glue on there, because this actually stays on even worse than the other ones. And all I'm going to do is just put a dab of glue into each of the holes. We won't need much because this is really light. That's actually not, you know, even that's not enough. Right, so change of plan. I thought there'd be enough just for the pegs, but I'm going to put a tiny dollop in the middle. But isn't it better to just to apply not enough glue and then be able to apply more than to apply too much and not be able to remove it? So there we go. So give that a couple of seconds. Oops, that didn't work either, did it? Right, okay, I'll give that a little second or two. So what I'm going to do is, obviously there won't be a cut for you, but I'll just cut the camera and then I'll just give that time to dry. Okay, so that's had plenty of time to dry. I was a little bit worried at first because you know when you put super glue on, sometimes it sticks instantly, and I was pulling this and it wasn't really wanting to do it. So, but that's absolutely fine now. I've given that about an hour. Right, so the next step is that we want to take this piece that we've done earlier on, and it says that attach the supply connection to the water supply panel by pushing the lug in at the base of the connection to the D-shaped fixing hole. So this has, it's very hard to see, but there is a D-shaped connector on there, and there's a connector there with a flat bottom, and that's going to go in there, and that is probably the most positive connection. Although it's not flat, it does go in nice. So what I'm going to do is, I've noted actually that when I put this in, these tubes on the end, they point slightly downwards, so that makes life a bit easier for me. So we'll get the glue out, and we've got a bit of gluing to do in the next couple of stages, I think. So a little bit of glue, aiming it mainly for the peg, and I just want to put the right amount of glue on that as that goes in it'll just squidge out, and then the ends will stick, but we don't want any glue showing at the end. So that can go in like so. We'll have that sticking straight out and then pointing down. So there we go. So that's, well, that's actually set quite solid. Right, so the next step then is we have one of these horrible little handles, and this pin on the end is supposed to be a D-shaped connector, and that's supposed to go into that hole there, which is supposed to be a D-shaped connector, D-shaped hole. So what we need to do is, I'm looking at the picture and it looks like the handle is possibly going off to the right, so that might give us a clue as to where this D-shaped connector is. So I'm going to try and rotate it, or I'm going to do the old have a look at it trick. Right, okay, so I can see that at the moment it's pointing downwards, and there it is, I found it. Right, so that is right. So on my model, the handle, the bit that you actually grab to turn, is going to be pointing is down in the down position. So that is starting to look quite nice. Happy with that. I'm not going to say how happy I am, because you know how it goes. I think, oh, maybe all the problems are over, and then something comes up. So next we want to take the rest the body midsection on its side, and I should have used my cloth, I do apologize. Rest that on its side, and the water supply panel is visible on the underside. Apply a little glue around the lugs, take the base step and align its two small holes with the lug. So I think this is the base step as opposed to this one, and according to the picture it looks like this line at the top is straight. But what we will do, yeah, I can see, look, these holes, you've got a large hole and a small hole, so I can see quite clearly that that is, oh, that's a really nice fit. That's almost as though it's designed and tested. Fantastic. So we want to be applying glue along there. Sorry, I keep hitting that camera with my headphones. So I'm going to keep, it's a little bit too much there, just see if I can spread that around. So you'll notice that I've not applied glue all the way up to the line, and there we go. That's gone in really nice. Really happy with that fit. That is probably the best piece that's gone together on the whole model so far. Very happy with that. Right, so press firmly to fit, which we've just done, and then we can move on to the right. So we need to align the two lugs on the panel step, which is this one, and that is going to be going into there. See, there's two small holes there, and it just says to press firmly. It doesn't say that it's to glue it in, and I would suggest that you don't need glue for that. It doesn't look like it's going to fall out on its own. So you notice I keep checking this cupboard door. That's quite nice because it also protect the ends there as well, wouldn't it? So you wouldn't bang into that, you just bang into that horrible sharp corner instead. Right, so next we can, now you can add the step support by pushing the tab on the wider end. Right, so this is the step support, and what we're looking to do is, I can see there's a little lug under there, and that's going to be press the hole at the end. Right, so there's a little peg, little tiny peg on the end there. I don't know if you can see it on my finger, and one end of this support is going to go in there, and the other end is going in there, and that doesn't want to go. Why does that not want to go? There's no hole there because I've got the hole on the wrong side. Right, that is, yeah, look, that is definitely going to need glue. So easy way to do that, I'm going to apply a little bit of glue to this tab, and then I'm going to apply a little bit of glue onto this peg. I think it's, in this particular case, it's probably best to apply the glue to the male parts of the connections. So there we go. So I'm intrigued to know how that's going to work in reality. Would this move up or slide down? I guess this step would move up. Oh no, of course. So this is a removable part, and then whatever you do with this step, that will move down, that will swivel downwards, I would guess. I don't know. Right, that is struggling to stick. So I'm going to just apply a bit more glue. Well, I'm not going to apply more glue, I'm just going to reapply the glue. And I'm going to leave that. So that's that step support. And the next part is we need to take left side panel and align the two tabs on the reverse. And I think that this is the panel that we're talking about. No, I think this is the panel. I'm looking at the holes, you see, and yeah, it's definitely not that one. So it looks like we want the holes, you see the holes are slightly off center, and we want them more towards the front. And that's very loose, very loose. So, and that's not fitting properly. So I'm going to glue that in because you can see there, look, that's way too loose. So that's easy done. We'll just, a little bit of glue, a couple of dots. I don't know why I applied a couple of dots. And there we go, that's going to go in there, no problems. Right, starting to look really nice now. Gone from looking nice to really nice. Right, okay, so this is an area of concern for me. So we need to take and it's this piece. So we need to take this it's a right water supply panel. Begin by taking the supply elbow and the large supply cap, and that's going to fit in there with a D-shaped connection. And just like before, I can see that's not going to stay in on its own, so I'm just going to adjust this camera because it's not really where I'm working. I'm trying to work in the middle of the camera, but I naturally seem to be moving. Do you know what, I can't do that either. I don't want to keep hitting it with my headphones. Right, so let's move the camera. There we go, that's a lot better, isn't it? Right, so a little bit of glue on the end. One area I do actually have a bit of a concern. We do seem to be building a lot with super glue, and I am aware that super glue will kind of degrade over time. So does this mean that in 10 years time this model's just going to fall apart? I don't think that's central, and that's also not sticking on. There we go. Right, that's just going to need a bit of time to set. So press the cap firmly in the supply elbow. Then we want to fit, it says assemble the emergency light, so maybe I misread the instructions. Instead of doing 1 I did 2, but that's okay, that just means that's on. Then we need to take the water supply panel. The right emergency light houses attaches horizontally in the recess on the right water supply panel, so that's going to go into there, and as I suspected, that's not going to stay in very well, so a little bit of glue, keeping that glue in where it won't be seen. That's beautiful, that's lovely. Right, and then we've got another one of these holeable handles, and again we've got a D-shaped shaft, and that's going to go into a D-shaped hole, and I can see that it's going to go this way, and that's gone in really easily. Oops. So there we go, so this is what we're looking like so far, and I think we can pretty much guess what's coming next. Yep. So we need to take this, I keep forgetting the names of them, and I keep saying, oh, if I forget the names, look at the instructions. So the elbow, supply elbow, is going to go into there like so, and oh, that doesn't want to go in. That does not want to go in. Keep checking to see if I've got it. I think the actual peg there might be a little bit larger than the hole there. So I wonder if it would have made more sense if we glued this bit on after we put this in, because we're going to run the risk of pulling that off. Right. Keep double checking, because it might just be that I'm trying to get this in the wrong way round. No, I firmly believe the peg's just not the same size, so I'm going to have to do a bit of scraping with it. See, I talked this up, didn't I? I was starting to think the parts were a bit better. So, but this is a common thing anyway. You know, they get parts in an ideal situation. The tolerances are very, very tight, because obviously you want these parts to fit well, and then you slap a load of paint on, and it changes the thicknesses of the parts. So this peg gets thicker, and this hole gets thinner. almost there. I'm just going to cut the end off and make this a little bit more round. I think we're trying to put a squared off D into a rounded D. There we go. I'm trying to keep one flat side on the D, then that will give me a positive location, but it just feels like the ends don't want to go in. This is definitely going to point upwards towards the emergency light. Except it's not. That's interesting. That's really weird. Is that where I've just gone wrong? Right. So this is the wrong way round. I know what's happened. I put this on the wrong way round. That's why it was a loose connection. I feel silly now. Right, so there's a D-shaped connection on both ends. What I've done is I put this piece on. When I glued it on, it was quite loose. Look. And I just thought it was a bad fit, and I'm going to use that excuse because quite some of these parts have been a bad fit. But what that means is that to put this D-shaped connector on there, it means that it's going to be pointing this way. But if you look at the instructions, it's actually pointing this way. What I've just figured out is if you put this one on this way, then you put this on. Not only does it actually fit, but it also points the same way as the magazine. Look at that. It doesn't stay in on its own, but it does go into the peg. So I'm going to do it the way that I suggest, which is that you put this peg in, and that's a really nice connection. Then I'm going to put this peg on. So it's not too late. I haven't cut away so much that it's completely destroyed it, but thankfully I noticed it I've noticed it quickly enough that the glue hadn't set hard enough, so I was able to repair it. Sorry, this is just fallen out and stuck to my finger. So there you go, that's gone in. So what I'm going to do then is I'm going to put just a tiny touch of glue on the back there, and then no, that's not where I wanted the glue. I'm going to put the glue there. Just on the back, and then it's not going to show them. Right, there we go. So that's that piece done. I made a bit of a mess of that, but you know, this part work is getting a bit of a track record for having a few errors, so I'm just trying to work with them. That's my excuse. I'm sticking with it. It's up to you whether you accept that excuse. So the next thing then is I've got to be careful because I accidentally applied glue onto there. So on the other side, this side of this piece, we want to stick this panel onto there if it needs sticking, and it looks like it's upside down. That's what it looks like. So it looks like it might actually go on without the need for glue. So I'll give that a tiny, yeah, that's absolutely fine. I'm not going to apply glue to that. I can't see the point in applying glue if it doesn't need the glue. Right, so that's on, and it does say to firmly push it in. Right, so the next step then is we want to take the right base step and we want to apply that there using the lugs, and that has fit as well as this step did. That is beautiful. That is absolutely amazing. I was watching a YouTube video on a completely different subject, and there was one part where the parts were fitting beautifully, and the guy making the video said, let's just take a moment to appreciate how well these parts fit. And he's applying all these parts, and every time they go in he's going, ooh, ooh, you know, like a Marks and Spencer's advert. I think this part should have been included on that video. That is an absolutely superb fit. Cannot fault that at all. These two pieces are the best pieces that I've done, and here's me getting excited about how well parts fit. So we've got a few parts left, not too many. We want to line up the tabs on the reverse side of the right side panel with the slots in the midsection, and that's going to go in there, and we're basically mimicking the other side now, aren't we? We're putting a panel there with some bits on, and then we're doing the same on there, and then we've got this panel, and just looking at where the holes are, and I'm going to do a double check. I'm not demonstrating how to do it wrong, but what I'm noticing, a lot of these tabs are arranged so that you can't put them in wrong, and it says to, oh, that was a really good fit. That just went in with such, it just felt really good. You know, when a part just fits so well. These these panels, and if I remember rightly, this one, they just went in so well. That was wonderful. Right, so now we have got road cones. So what we need to do is snip what it says, snip one of the road cones from the sprue, but I'm going to do a little bit of a cheeky look, and I can see that we will be using both. So while I've got my snippers out, I'm going to snip them both off. What I'm going to do is always hold the flat bit towards the piece that you want to keep, because then that way if there's any damage is going to be done on the sprue. And then for the last piece, I'm going to hold the piece, not the sprue, because then that way if anything flies off, which that did, and I did not plan that like that, but I actually have no idea where that went. I'm sure it will turn up at some point, but it really doesn't matter because it was the waste sprue. If I'd have held the sprue and then cut that off, I would now be looking for this important piece. So we need to push the lugs on the road cone into the holes on the right side panel, and that's this one, and I can see that it's got a larger lug and a smaller lug, and that's good engineering, because where we've had to cut that, you see it's gone whitey pink and it doesn't look very good. That doesn't matter because that's one of the panels, one of the lugs, and that's going to get pushed into there, and if it goes in, that is, really should apply this with tweezers, to be honest with you, but you know me, I'm a stubborn old mule, I can do things my way. Right, and that's a really loose fit, but it does say apply a little glue if the fit is loose, as it will be fiddly to reattach later. So let's get my very good glue out. Whoops. And I think I'm going to apply with a cocktail stick this time. We're going to just pop some glue in the hole, pop some glue in the second hole. Don't know if actually any glue went in there, don't think it did actually. Right, and hold that there for a few seconds, and at the very back, do you know what, I'm not gonna put that one in. I'll explain why in a second. Right, so that one's going to go in, right, and that's not sticking, right. I find sometimes this glue, if you don't shake it up, it doesn't seem to stick very quickly. So there we go. I'll leave that for a few seconds. So the second one is going to go on the opposite side, but I will just explain why I took this one out. You'll notice there it's got some ejector pin marks which aren't good. Now, because of the way they were on the sprue, they had ejector pin marks there, and then on the opposite piece they had the ejector pin marks there. So if I'd have stuck this there, you'll see that those ejector pin marks are visible. So whoops, so what I did is I quickly put the other one in, knowing full well that when this one is stuck in, those ejector pin marks are going to be behind, so you're not really going to see them. You see? Now the alternative, and this would actually have been a much more professional and better idea, is to actually take those ejector pin marks out. But then I probably would have had to repaint the piece red. I would have had to find a colour match. If you don't want to do all of that, this is a very good alternative way to do it. Just make sure those ejector pin marks are hidden. So someone has thought about this, but just not as well as I'd like to have done. So this piece actually was with relatively low amount of problems, and I'm rather happy with that. And I still can't work out where it's going to go. But that is the end of issue 20, stage 25. And the reason I can't work out where it goes is we don't seem to have built up. Hang on a minute, we can get a clue. Right, push the lugs road cone into the holes on the right side panel. So this is the right, so that means it's going this way round. So I'd like to guess that it's going to go there, because there's two screw holes there and 2 screw holes there, but I don't know. But there's also a screw hole there, and there's a hole there, which would suggest it's coming through that way. But then I don't know, see, I want to think it's going there. I don't know enough about this. I know a little bit, but I don't know an awful lot. So I'm going to finish the episode there. This is stage 25, and I'm very happy with that part for a change. I'm wondering what's going to go in there. So let's have a quick look at issue 26, which is going to be the right outrigger. So I will catch you in the next episode when I will be doing that. So take care, guys. Bye bye. So what did you think of that then, guys? I really enjoyed it. A couple of little fiddly parts. Those little supply caps were really fiddly. Damn electrical emergency lights. I'm not enjoying those. They have to be done, but they're really good because they do cover screws and things up. The cupboardy bits, fantastic. The fit is superb. Really enjoyed that. And those little what do they call them, the parts where you, well, I forgot what it's called now. Just below the water supply panel. It's the little step. I really did enjoy those. The fit on those were fantastic. So got a bit of a bonus for you next week. We've done some really long issues. The next issue I'm going to be able to fit 26, 27, 28, 29 and 30 all into one issue. 27 is quite a lengthy one, but all the other issues around stages surrounding them are actually really short. So you're going to have a massive build next issue, and I've lost my cursor key. So take care guys, and I hope to see you next week.